Hello, good evening, and thank you for joining us here at Finance Focus. This month we celebrate Financial Information Month and have partnered with the ECCB, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, in Dominica to host a three-part series under the theme Innovation in the Face of Adversity, Respond, Recover, Rise. This series will cover three main topics including entrepreneurship, digitalization, and personal finance management. The topic for this evening's discussion is around minding your business. If you are an entrepreneur or small business owner, you definitely need to mind your business. This evening, I have with me four representatives from various financial institutions and institutions in Dominica who are eager to share information and tips with you on how to better manage your business operations more efficiently. To my left, I have Mrs. Bianca Williams-Collier, who is an economist by training with 11 years experience at the National Bank of Dominica. She is currently the credit officer and an avid financial counselor. I also have Mr. Sheldon Kazimi, who is the CEO and creative director at Unite. It is a multifaceted multimedia company established in 2005. He is also the PRO for the DAIC and brings a unique perspective from small businesses to the Chamber's executive. To my right, I have Mr. Cletus Joseph, who is the Executive Director of the NDFD with over 15 years experience in business development, governance, and management. He holds an MBA in Business Administration. We also have Mrs. Josephine Titt, who is the Marketing and Communications Officer in the Business Development Department at the Aid Bank, with over 20 years experience in developing banking. Welcome, panelists, and thank you for joining us here at Finance Focus. Thank you. Mr. Kazimi, I'll begin with you. We are currently experiencing unprecedented times with a lot of uncertainty. We also live in an economy with its own intrinsic challenges to raise cash flow and build generational wealth. In your opinion, why do you believe individuals should still pursue entrepreneurship?
Well, for me, I believe, honestly, the entrepreneurship spirit is still much alive regardless of whether or not we're faced with challenging times. If we look at the history of human evolution through business and finance and industry, in times of calamity has always brought about a lot of opportunities. It's very hard to make the choice and say you want to become an entrepreneur. I think maybe most young people growing up maybe want to do that at one point in their life, want to maybe be their own boss, but then the realities of how our economies and how the world is shaped is that you have people who will always fall into the brackets of working the ordinary 8 to 4 or the 9 to 5, depending on where they are. But nonetheless, that entrepreneurship spirit still persists within mostly all of us. And I would definitely encourage anybody who deep down within have something that they really love and can find a way to monetize doing what they love, to pursue it and try and see how they change, whatever it might be a hobby, it might be a special interest at the time. But once there's a straight path to adding value to that chain and creating some sort of wealth creation for yourself, I would definitely encourage them to try and pursue it.
Mm-hmm. In your opinion, what are some of the industries with potential for growth?
Whoa, this is a very broad question. I mean, there's so many areas where the potential for growth stands. I mean, we in the Caribbean we are very conservative in the way that we approach business. Like our parents send us to school, they want us to go and study in the faculties that has been normal or has been in their eyes what would be the more lucrative profession. So go become a lawyer, go become a doctor, go and study to become a banker, But we have seen so many disruptions in the way business is being done through globalization, through the advancement of technology like the internet. The internet has pretty much made the world so much smaller that we can now capitalize on opportunities that in our small space on this small island would not be able to. So definitely areas like fintech solutions, like financial technology, with the rise of digital currencies and the ability to make payments using your smartphone and conducting all your business on your smartphone, definitely is an industry that I would look at. My industry for sure, I feel has a lot of potential in terms of multimedia, in terms of film production. The Caribbean space is one where we have a lot of stories to tell that have not been exposed to the wider world as yet. While we have been mostly categorized as a consumer nation, like we consume a lot of content, we consume a lot of products, we have not been given the opportunity to actually create or bring those things that we have been creating out there. So definitely within the creative industries, there's opportunity there. I also would want to single out I would also want to single out like the opportunities to advance yourself in areas of engineering and architecture and those types of fields where we are still in a developing state, where you can take advantage of the opportunities as development comes along. So some of the areas that I feel that have a certain amount of opportunity.
Okay, Mr. Joseph, what's your opinion on that? In what industries do you see potential for growth?
It depends on your internal feelings, your likes, certain passions that you have can really cause you to drive an area where you think there lie opportunities. If I were to take from where you start off when talking about we go to school and our parents would drive us to become a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, whatever. But when you have that training, what you do with it is very important. So if you are an engineer and then you decide, look, can I design or something that would perhaps drive a particular process in, let's say, the Caribbean, or that businesses on the island could benefit from, is an interesting perspective to look at it from, where you are trained in a particular field. But that does not mean that you have to go and work for a particular organization with regard to that. But given what is happening right now, you find, that aside, given what is happening right now, you find a lot of need for, let's say, contactless methods of doing business. So you talk about fintech, you talk about the ability to pay your utility bills, even your bank loan, and certain of those transactions that you normally would go to the line, even topping up your phone, you see on your phone itself when you do it, or in your office you do it on your computer. So this is like a trend that is emerging globally, but how much of that can we really implement here? And do we have to really rely on the outside to, let's say, develop an app for us? Why don't we ourselves incentivize our own people to develop apps that can encourage maybe a national bank, an NDFD, an aid bank, DAIC companies to use those apps? So there are opportunities there, but it does not only have to lie within the technology field, the traditional areas of food people must eat, but are people still looking forward to going to sit in a restaurant to eat, given the pandemic that we have now? So what about delivery services? Those types of things can create opportunity within it. So not just maybe replicating a restaurant, but providing a service that a restaurant can use or supermarkets can use that will cause persons to, really generate some form of revenue income for themselves. So these are interesting areas that persons can look at. And look at it within that light of looking around, do the analysis, and come up with something that you feel that you can really develop and build something from it.
Thank you for sharing that. So we've decided to enter this turbulent environment.
We didn't decide.
If we decide to enter this turbulent environment, what are some of the critical factors as entrepreneurs we should consider before or planning to enter or start our business?
Okay, so as I said, we don't choose those things. They are visited upon us. And when I talk about the current situation we are on, I like to refer to what we went through before that. I'm a child of the 70s, and I remember being a little thing, and I was traumatized by Hurricane David. Even up till I'm a big man now, and I still scared of wind. So once wind blows, I think so. But we had Maria as recent as 4 years ago. And prior to that, we had Tropical Storm Erica. These were brutal forces that really brutalized us and traumatized us. And 4 years later, after Maria, we have been trying to recover. And this thing comes, which nobody expected. I honestly expected about 2 years later, after Maria, to get another storm, whether you call it Nina or whatever, or Angela or whoever, to come and brutalize us again. But yeah, comes something that we don't see, we didn't anticipate, and it's just there, and it's been so consistent. So one of the things that as entrepreneurs, small business persons, we have to be aware of is that we need to ensure that we are cognizant of things that can happen. We have to be agile and ready to change and adapt and change strategies and redesign, reform, re-engineer whatever business that we are operating in order to remain relevant. And certain terminologies have evolved within the pandemic, or how they call it, essential services, frontliners, those types of terminologies evolved. But so as business persons, we have to have that sort of mindset to be, one, very agile and ready to change whatever model we have or adapt it to suit the situation and remain relevant to our clients that we serve. So I would want to stick on that point up front right there, that agility, willingness to change. Keep minding your business, if I may use your term, in order to remain in business by being relevant to our clients.
So key thing, remain agile and adaptable.
Cognizant, really, keep your wits about you.
Right. Mr. Kazimi, how important do you think it is for entrepreneurs to develop an organizational culture, whether we're micro, less than 5 employees, it's just us, or we have 10 employees, 20 employees? How important do you think that is?
Well, seeing that I'm surrounded by financial institutions, flanked to the left and the right, and the show is brought to us by Finance Focus and the Eastern Caribbean. I would want to say it is very, very important for entrepreneurs from the get-go start to think not only of the services or goods that they were willing to sell or the stuff that they are good at, but to try and look at the business structure holistically. And most times, like when I started off, the environment for doing that was not what it is today. Like right now, I can go on my phone and pull up my QuickBooks and pull out a free profit and loss P&L and submit it to my GL lady over here, and say this is the state of my business. But when I started off, it wasn't like that. So I kind of focused on what my strong points were at the time. And years gone by, and opportunities for finance came up, or opportunities for expansion came up. But then to get those opportunities, you need to provide the reports, the data on how well this business is it a going concern? Is it something that is profitable? Are you making a loss every year? So I would say this is one of the lessons that or mistakes that I made very early in my years. I corrected it. As you say, you have to be very agile and respond to what you see and you're doing wrong. And one of the key things with entrepreneurship is like you have not to be afraid to fail. Like failing is testament of you trying. And as Cornell West says, you fail and then you feel better. And then every time you feel better, that is like an improvement. So inputting an organizational structure in your business from the onset, like from conception, have somebody to think of what the accounting is going to be like, what your marketing strategy is going to be like. If you have a 2-year plan, a 3-year plan set up for marketing, you might not have the budget to do it, but at least you have the plan written out on paper. What your goals and vision are for the short term, for the long term, medium term. Do you want to acquire capital intensive equipment, and how you're going to finance that? So if you have those goals written out and you have the different structures in place, you may not have the human resource capacity to fill up the different departments that you want to have in place, but at least the plan is there and on paper. Once you plan the work, then you can start working the plan. So I would really push for young entrepreneurs who want to start up to keep this in the forefront of their mind. Like, you need to be as organized as possible. Even if you selling bakes and cheese out of your basket, after you make your first set of bakes and you sell, and at the end of the month, go and register Jackie's Bakes, even if it's a business name. Register it, set up a bank account. Start to develop that relationship with the banks where you're doing your regular deposits. And as time goes by, with growth, if you are good at what you're doing, then the record will show. And when the time comes for, or the opportunity comes for expansion or scaling up that idea, then you have the supporting documents that you can present to not only financial institutions, but maybe even possible angel investors, somebody that you know personally that might have the financial capacity to support you, but then you don't want to just go to them with an idea out of the sky. So I would definitely reiterate again that organizational structure is very important to anybody starting up a business, whether you're one person, 5 people, or a conglomerate that has hundreds of staff.
Thanks. Now, taking into consideration, I have all these things in place, right? Natural disaster starts, or pandemic strikes. We mentioned about adaptability. So this is a question for all of you. How can we adapt?
Okay. Well, one of the things that actually we are doing right now at the AIC, in collaboration with CARICHAM, which is the Caribbean Chamber of Commerce, is helping set up what is called a business continuity plan. And most major companies throughout the world have business continuity plans set up in terms of whatever disruption. So it might not necessarily be a disaster, as you say. It might be a pandemic. It might be a strike. It might be anything that disrupts the order of business for the day. So we are definitely working on setting up a template or guide for business continuity plans so that we can share with our members and potential members alike to figure out what are the things that you absolutely need to continue making that daily bread. So this is one of the things that I feel is very important. Like, it might not be a spreadsheet of 20 pages, it might be a one pager. If XYZ happens, I analyze my business, I identify the different risks that are there, I know what the hazards are, I see the matrix, I know, well, if this happens, I need to put XYZ in place for me to continue operating. So this is one of the things that I would suggest that every business try and adopt, whether you're small, medium, or large.
Thank you. Mrs. Tit?
Yeah, I want to share what my views are on the topic, and Mr. Kazimi mentioned exactly what I had in mind. Business continuity plan is extremely important. You need to know where you are on any given day. That is why entrepreneurs must visit with themselves, probably at the end of each day, to understand how the day went, what it is they have achieved, whether they have achieved some of their goals, whether they need to adjust their sale in any way, and how they need to move forward. Because a business continuity plan will really not put you at a loss, so to speak. Okay? It will take you from where you were before the event and help you to move along. Whether it means you had to change location, whether it means you had to adjust some technological aspect of your business, it will help you to refocus so that you don't feel lost or that you've lost anything within that detrimental period.
Thank you. Mrs. Fuller, you're in banking, and there's a lot of chatter right now as relates to the competitiveness of the market. And we hear a lot about copycats and heavily saturated markets. Do you believe that this is a challenge?
In terms of competition?
Yes.
Well, that is always part of the threat that operates in any business or entrepreneur. And I just want to totally concur with what Mr. Kazmi said, that key to small businesses' success is having an emergency plan, so to speak, for the storm that is not a storm, and having what you call succession planning in the event that you cannot operate your business. Who do you have? Who are your resources? Who is your fallback that you will be able to continue the business in the event that, for example, there is loss of life or loss of equipment, that you have succession planning. So that is one of the key things I would say, make sure that you have that in place, because as Abraham Lincoln said, if you have to cut down a tree and you have only 8 hours to do it, spend 6 hours sharpening your axe. And then by the time you're ready to cut down that tree, you're well equipped to do it. And so this is what I would like to share with all small business, and not even small business, just on a whole, Dominica, the Caribbean, that we should just position ourselves. We know that when we're doing our business plan, we do what you call SWOT analysis. You know what your strength, your weakness, your opportunity, your threat. And of course, persons like to see success. So if they see you go into CMOS producing, they will follow. They might copycat, so to speak. But you always have to ensure that you have a differentiation that makes you unique. And for example, even in the banking sector, there are many different banks, but what I say makes a difference is service. Service makes a difference. So even if you offer the same product and the same service, you have to have something that everybody will want to come to you. And the key thing that you got is the soft skill, so to speak, is service. And so I really want to encourage these entrepreneurs to ensure that you have excellent customer service, that you know who your customers are. I like to tell persons, like, even if we have a policy in place, if you know who your customers, you can break the policy for that person because you know them. You have built a relationship with them. And so when you're in a business, whether, like you said, it's one person or 5 persons, ensure that what makes you different, no matter how many competitors out there, is that you have excellent customer service. And put Dominica on the map. It's the best place to do business.
Definitely. Now, I want us to get financial. right? Understanding your business model and your finances is imperative in business. But as an entrepreneur in entrepreneurship, where can we start when it comes to managing our finances, Mrs. Claire?
Where can we start? I think panelists have shared a lot. So, Mr. Joseph spoke about being agile and, flexible and adaptable. Mr. Kazami spoke about, making sure that you can tap into the industries, and making sure that you put a plan in place. But in terms of financing, I'm saying the first thing you do is that you establish a business plan. And within that business plan, you need to do what you call sensitivity analysis. Now, that sensitivity analysis will allow you to be able to deal with shocks that might occur. So as a banker, we always look at worst case scenario. We said that you come to us with a plan and say that I'm expecting to make, I have a projection to make X amount of money. However, you have to stress it to say in the event of, let's say, competition on the market, how would I react? How can my business continue with this threat of several competitors doing the same thing? In the event of a pandemic, how would that impact my income and my expenses? So you have to do sensitivity analysis to see different scenarios and how your business would respond to see if your business is robust enough and can handle different shocks that are going to come your way. Because today is COVID, tomorrow it could be something else. And I'm just telling us that we have to look for opportunities in the worst case scenario and not give up and not quit. So ensure that you stress. So if your projections say that you expect to make 100,000, stress it and say, what if I only make 50% of that? Am I still going to be a going concern? And if you can meet that, then you can say, okay, this is a good business too. It's a good justifiable risk, so to speak. So this is what you do. The first step is ensure that you have a business plan that considers all the different shocks and the different scenarios that can take place in your industry, and then ensure that you keep records. Mr. Kazim mentioned that before maybe everybody would have a book and would want to jot down, what in the inflows and the outflows. But now you have QuickBooks and you have all these apps that you could just enter instantly on your smartphone. So record keeping and bookkeeping is very relevant in terms of getting financing, because that's how the financer is going to know you. That's how we're going to know you, to know if you can manage your business well by the records you keep. Okay? So this is where I'd say to start. Plan, do your stress testing, sensitivity analysis, and ensure that your financer knows you well through how well you've kept your records.
What I always like to share with entrepreneurs when I meet with them is that you need to get involved in something that you enjoy. And I heard Mr. Kazemi when I first came into this forum, and he was hitting the nail on the head. So that if there's a particular skill or creative art that you enjoy, if you can make money out of it, it won't feel like work. Then you must put your business plan in place, because that is really a roadmap that you can adjust. It's not set in stone. Things happen along the way that you need to change. There are things you could do better. There are new products that could be part of your business. And so you input that information into your business and you adjust. You never know when an opportunity arises. What I like about Dominican entrepreneurs is that they do not put their eggs in one basket. They may apply for a loan. They may have personal investment in the business. Family could assist them. They could have an angel investor waiting for them. And there are some Caribbean institutions or entities that are waiting to provide some business plan support or some bridging finance or something. You have the Aid Bank who provides loans for small business entrepreneurs. Whether it is our We Fund, which is sensitive to women, whether it is our Startup Stars, which looks at male and female young entrepreneurs, whether it is our traditional product, lending, agriculture, tourism, and so on. we have a variety of products that we can offer. So understand the business you're in, do something you love, look at your competitors. When I used to serve as a credit officer, I used to have persons tell me that they have no competition. You always have competition.
Definitely.
So sometimes you need to adjust your sale. Sometimes your business, if you're a seasoned entrepreneur, is at a plateau. And so you need to know in what direction to move. Sometimes you have to add value to your product. Sometimes you have to use technology. And there's something we tend to forget in Dominica, that people are retiring. And when people are retiring, they are still in good health. They look as young as they did 10 years ago. They are probably getting a gratuity that they want to invest some of it into a business, So we always talk about young entrepreneurs, but we don't look at the potential for retirees. Let's say young retirees, okay? We don't look at them and we don't encourage them to get involved in business. But it keeps you active, it keeps you interested in life, it provides an income for you, So at the end of the day, if you're going into business, there are a number of things you need to take into consideration. You really need to mind your own business. Stop looking at what other people, would be doing, and see what you can do better, see how you can get a competitive advantage. And sometimes we like to compete. But is there a way we can collaborate? Is there a way we can collaborate? So these are things that we need to look at. And the ability to listen. Sometimes we like to tell people we have, or we can provide, but what does the customer really want? What does your customer want? What need do you have to feel? It's not all about you. I like what Mr. Kazimi said. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Embrace the challenges. Look at the problem from all angles. The same way when you drive, you have to be considerate of the pedestrian, the other driver, and the stray dog on the road. You need to look at the problem from all angles. You always have to be at it and knowing what to do. And another thing that I noticed that an entrepreneur decided the environmental concern. I noticed that an entrepreneur decided, instead of producing products in bottles, she may want to do it as a solid product and so on, to get away from the bottles, to be more sensitive to the environment and all of that. So there are a lot of opportunities for people, a lot. Sometimes I tell people, things that people do every day is eat and die. Right? So the food industry, I still believe, is very important. And you maybe do not want funeral homes doing the same thing. Sorry to say, it's a fact of life. You might want to do something different, or you may want to offer an ancillary service towards that going concern.
Okay, all right. Mr. Joseph, in your experience, you have many entrepreneurs visiting your institution. What are some of the financial processes you can recommend to them that they put in place when beginning the process of entrepreneurship?
Okay. Entrepreneurship has a twin, right? It's called innovation. So any person who wants to be entrepreneurial, who goes into some small business or some business of some sort, you're going to have two things to do during the life cycle of a business. One, you have to be entrepreneurial. So entrepreneurship is a continuous process of developing, redeveloping. And you also have the innovation process where you continuously develop the product, other products, and that sort of thing. So you have to bear that in mind while you're doing that. Now, it's not really a vice manner, but sometimes the gut feeling is even better than all of the sciences put together. So these things happen, and you have to be able and prepared to you got that gut feeling to do that, to be that entrepreneurial or to innovate your product further. And so you're going to, at this time, decide, what are my goals here? What are my objectives? What do I want to achieve with that innovation process, with that entrepreneurial mindset I continue to have? And then once you have set that, you can start to seek or identify the sources of your financing for those things. So that is important. That whatever finance we seek is to achieve something. That not just because we want money, I want money, I want money. No, there must be a need to which, or an objective to which this is going to be. And in your planning process, because we spoke about planning, that you need to develop a plan, but a plan is it's supposed to be a living, breathing document with you, and you need to monitor against that plan. And if I were to give one advice with any entrepreneur, any business person, it will not always go to plan. And most likely it will not go to plan. So again, you have to be mindful and monitor. See, am I achieving my goals? Where am I falling short? Is it a matter of revenue? Is it a matter of the product? Am I focusing too much on the product and not seeing what's happening in the market? Am I not seeing what my competitors are doing? And so you have to think that. So the strategy that you employ there is important, but you also have to be able to have a target as to what you want to put your finance to. Which is the best financial institution for you for that plan that you have? Is it Aid Bank? Is it National Bank? I'll tell you it's NDFD. But still, you have to do your evaluations on that, your analysis. What does NDFD bring you that an Aid Bank or National Bank does not? And you have to make that critical analysis, that critical judgment in order to think it. Because when we go and we talk financing and we begin to think about debt financing, eventually it is going to impact you in some way because debt is to be repaid. And if you cannot, then you're going to have another issue to deal with. So you need to do those things. You plan, you evaluate, or you monitor, you evaluate, and you take your corrective actions on a timely manner when you see that is required. Okay? And again, you always, in the business, have to continue to innovate. That is how you are going to think. And I take international companies as an example. If we look at Coca-Cola, when I grew up, I knew Coca-Cola in a glass bottle. You drink it. It used to be nice. Right now, I don't drink it. But Coca-Cola realized that the trend is that health people were moving away from that sugary stuff. And they would tell Coca-Cola, oh, all you're doing is give people sugar. Coca-Cola said, okay, I'm not going to throw away my Coke because there are people who will still drink it. But now they're into teas, they're into water, they're into juice, they do everything. Dasani water is owned by Coca-Cola. Many tea companies in South Asia are owned by Coca-Cola. So they changed their business model, keeping their value proposition that the joy, the enjoyment is in the bottle, but they give you something that is more healthy, and they still keep their old traditional product. And we have to learn to do that as well as local entrepreneurs, as local business people, to be able to see what is happening in the marketplace, see where the pressures are, and adapt and change towards those types of trends.
Certainly. So, based on all what the free panelists have shared, you speak about evaluation and analyzing, but where do they get the data? So, Ms. Collier, what are some of the financial metrics that entrepreneurs can use to collect this data and analyze this data for them to make strategic decisions?
Okay, well, I like what all panelists said, and it really opened up our eyes to say that, you have diversity. One thing I really wanted to share is that one of the opportunities, as we were speaking, is on health. And I really wanted to push that plug because I know at this time most persons are seeking to build their immune system and so that was one of the things I wanted to share before you wrap up, that this is an area of opportunity that small business can tap into. And as per the matrices that they can use is like whether you use financial financial planning goals, whether you use securities analysis. At National Bank, one of the things that we have learned is that the entry, in order to enter the market, most small businesses do not have what you call collateral. And what we have put forward is a scheme that is an ECPCGC to allow small businesses who do not have collateral and who do not have the resources to, even tap into the different matrices and strategies, but to have the opportunity to be collateralized so that they are not too heavily reliant on just full financing and getting the securities 100%. So the ECPCGC is a guarantee scheme that allows small businesses to tap into that and to be able to get up to 75% collateral, and they would only have to provide 25%, and they would be able to enter the market and not be at a disadvantage, so to speak. So this is what I want to encourage the small businesses, because as we have done a lot of research, and as you mentioned, where do they get the data? They can seek not only the development banks like A Bank and NDFB and the National Bank, who are there to partner with them and to share with them the resources and the financial counseling to allow them to get off their feet and get moving. And as you say, mind their business.
So, in an effort to qualify for some of the products you mentioned, they would need to have some basic financials. So they would need their profit and loss statements, their balance sheets. Cash flow statement is also important. They would need to do some break-even analysis, some sensitivity analysis, and ensure that they have cash budgets. And that is something I noticed. We as entrepreneurs, we jump into business, we know that we have to spend, but we rarely project our cash flow.
No.
So,
and then when you project it, you don't do the sensitivity analysis, like I said, you don't stress it. And you only see it with the pinks and the reds, and you don't see the grays. And the dark clouds that could come as a result of the pandemic, where you might not be able to even interact with your clientele, and that you might have to go on web-based platforms in order to seek them. But generally, you must always do stress testing in terms of your cash flow projections. So most entrepreneurs, they focus on maybe just the income and expense statement, but the projections, which allow you to see, okay, what is this likely to be in 2022, in 2023? And we always encourage you to have at least a 3 to 5 year cash flow projection.
Yes, and although that might be projected annually, I also believe it's important to do it monthly.
Correct.
Because, business is not rigid.
It's fluid.
It's fluid. Now, in my experience, I've received a lot of complaints from small business owners that when they're sourcing funds, they don't usually qualify. And I like to let them know that they need to make their projects bankable, right? So as financial institutions, what are some of your opinions or some advice tips that you can give to entrepreneurs to make their projects more bankable?
I want to reverse that a little bit. If you're preparing the financial statements for the bank, this is a fatal flaw. Because you need to do it first and foremost for yourself. And my appeal, can I look in which camera is on? I want to appeal to small business persons to be honest with yourself and prepare the financial statements as it is. Don't doctor it. Because in the end it will bite you some way, somehow. And I say that because if you prepare something that is not accurate, you're misleading yourself in the first instance. And you will not see that because I go into the bank or the NDFD for a loan, I bloat my profit. I make it look like I'm profitable. And you might even convince yourself that you are being profitable. So you see where you have an issue. You cannot even see for yourself that something is wrong or something is not going to plan. So let us first, as business persons, prepare our financial statements, first for ourselves. So that's where the first use is, that I can see, boss, last month was not too good. And why? What are the areas? Did my sales drop for some reason? Did my expenses increase for whatever reason? And let me get to the bottom of it. and I can evaluate them. And you can go to a financial institution with a statement showing that you're not very profitable, but you might be seeking financing to improve a process or a product, or to introduce a new line of product or something, and you can come and say, look, this is where I am, and this is where I project to be if you finance me. And that is important, okay? So let's be honest with ourselves first, because we run the risk of misleading ourselves. So please, now, once you have presented the financial institution with the financial statements that you have, the financial institution has a responsibility to itself as well, to ensure that I am taking this level of risk, and I run the risk that it does not work, or it does not work as planned, and hence the stress testing that I speak about. But the financial institution has an idea that I take X amount of risk, or Y amount of risk, and do I do it, do I not do it? And it's the financial institution's interest to do it, because nobody wants to run at a loss. If I see that the project that you're going is too iffy, I'll say sorry, but let us look at that again. Or I would advise you to do X or Y or Z. And that is good advice that the financial institution is giving you. So it's not an entitlement that any financial institution is going to borrow and lend you money or loan you money, but the financial institution has an interest to, whether it's NBD's shareholders who want return on their investments, or it is NDFD, that's a non-profit, but still has to make a profit to survive, or it is a bank who reports to government that this is how we performed. There is a balance to be struck. But this is what it is. Now, let's look at the security collateral, which is a key aspect of accessing finance, that most persons don't have the financial institution. So you have the EC, PGC, and you also have the NDFDs and 8 banks who use the guarantee systems. I don't think the banks really use that so much, but because of our structure, we allow that. And that is, maybe we can look at it as, if you have a guarantor to your thing, look at it as somebody putting some equity in your business. That because I love you, or we are very good friends for a very long time, or I just want to see you do well, I am going to help you to access some finance to run your business. So you have a responsibility to ensure that you monitor this business by keeping your records, financial and otherwise. And most times we talk about records, people only think of financial records,
right,
but there are other types of records that we have to keep. All right, so how it is that we perform, how do we execute our duties, or whatever it is that we do? Is my recipe the correct one? Am I using too much of something that causes the cost of my product to be too high, so it's not competitive? So we have to monitor all of those things. So this person has put some equity into your business, and you have a responsibility to monitor how you are doing. That not just because you want to pay the bank, but you want to make sure the business is successful as much as possible. You repay the loan and you free up your other equity hold. So we have to be cognizant of these things.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Sheldon, you bring a unique perspective to this discussion because you're an entrepreneur yourself. In the project that you have undergone, what are some of your tips that you can share with us when you make your projects bankable?
All right. I first want to draw and demarcate a very straight line between entrepreneurship and business owner. There are people who are there and have businesses, and they're just business owners. Entrepreneurs are a different breed, right? Entrepreneurs usually have this great sense of curiosity that they always want to try and look and find what is the next new opportunity to pounce on. How decisive I'm going to be in trying to capitalize off of that new opportunity. And you have people who are all their lives have made millions by just being serial entrepreneurs. They come up with this idea, they create the plan around it, put it into motion. One of the key things that Cletus mentioned earlier was innovation. Like that idea, that process has to be innovated. It's even better if it disrupts. Like disruption is an entrepreneur's best friend. Like if you have something that is going to totally take an industry and turn it upside down, an existing industry and turn it upside down. Take for example, in the United States, growing up, there was Blockbuster Video, and Blockbuster thought that they would never, they were like just the giants of the game. And here comes streaming platforms, where the way that we digest and consume that content is completely different because of the technology that was there. And that technology helped disrupt the industry of rented video cassettes. And right now, Blockbuster is the thing of the past. You understand? Amazon was another prime example. Like I remember when in the very early days of Amazon, they was just selling books, and sometimes you're going for the books and you can't even really find the book that you want, or the books that they have not even are interesting enough for you to say, okay, yes, you're going to buy one. But the idea of turning what would normally be a walk-in library into a digital space where any book that you want you could get it, soon metamorphosized into what is any product that you want now, you can go and get it on Amazon. Right now, Amazon is moving into food, as she said. One of the things you have to do is eat and die. So, like, there's like the whole chain of supermarket experience that Amazon is doing that is going to again disrupt what the status quo was. So definitely the disruption, scalability. Like if I was to put down this business idea and this business model and stamp it out and roll it out in Dominica, can I roll it out in St. Lucia? Can I roll it out throughout the region? Can I partner with somebody in the European Union to roll it out over there? So that idea of scalability is where the real wealth is going to be generated. And if you can harness those things in the ideas that you're bringing forward, I feel you have some of the traits of what would put you in the bracket of real entrepreneurship, serious entrepreneurship, as opposed to just being a business owner. Like you have people who have been in business for 20, 30 years, and they wake up, go to the business, and rinse and repeat the same processes over and over again. They are profitable, they generate wealth, but the risk taking, which is another very big trait of an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs will take that risk. It's like risk and entrepreneurship goes very hand in hand. It's like they will see that diamond in the rough when nobody else cannot see it. And another trait that they're supposed to have, or they will either bring somebody else with that trait, is to sell that proposition, sell that value proposition to others who can buy into it and to make it a reality. So these are just some of the different characteristics or traits of entrepreneurship that I feel would distinguish them and put them in a category of them.
And in turn make them bankable.
Definitely will make you bankable.
But
So,
in addition to being bankable, I think that projects have to be realistic. Because sometimes a project comes to you, you read it, you break it down, you try to see if what the person say that they will make, the profit they say they'll make, is reasonable, is realistic, and sometimes it isn't. Sometimes a person brings a project to you You take some time and you read it, and then you call them and say, let's discuss the project, and they can discuss it with you, you know? And then your debt service ratio, you know, your credit rating. Somebody might say, I'm a new kid on the block. I have no debt, you know? Yeah, sometimes you want to give somebody a chance, but, you know, is the project viable? Stress testing has to do with the project, but also with the collateral element of it. Sometimes a young person may not have collateral, but let's say they have collateral. You really want to secure the loan, and you want to take into consideration that if there is an economic problem, or if we're in a pandemic situation and things go really bad, are you able to convert the collateral into to money to clear up the debt and so on? This is not really the primary result of using collateral, but you have to face reality. Some people forget that a bank is a business, you know, and they think that what the bank needs to do is to just give out money. But the bank, the institution, has to be sustainable in itself. You understand? So you have to look at the person's, whether the product or the service they want to offer is something that the market needs. Some people feel that when they bring a product to you, you just have to accept it. But as a banker, you have to do your own research to determine whether this is something that, you know, will make sense. Is it something that, you know, is needed? I like the fact that Mr. Kazemi spoke about innovation, because innovation and change is different. Innovation, insanity, and entrepreneurship might go together, as he said. You know, when you want to change something, it may have reached a particular level on the product cycle. You want to add value to it, you want to rebrand it, you want to make it new, you know? But when you talk about innovation, it's something new that people have never really experienced, and you want to sell it to them, you know? So I just wanted to bring up those points.
And I have one point I think everybody touched on. We talk about capacity, which is your financial statements, the idea of the ability to pay. We spoke about the famous collateral that most people think that is probably the least on the scale of what a bank looks for in terms of evaluation. And I think what we want to stress is creditworthiness. Are you somebody that is willing and able to repay your debt? And that is something a lot of persons overlook. So in the case of, I work for a credit bureau in Barbados, and at the time, as you mentioned, the Blockbuster, they had one of the businesses on the credit bureau had rental of videos, and they had almost $1 million in bad debt. So they brought it to the credit bureau in terms of the data, and when they wanted to get their mortgage, because they had not repaid the rental company at least $300, they were not able to get their mortgage, because the premise was, if you're not faithful in the little things, you're not going to be faithful in much. So one of the key things as bankers to make you bankable and for you to mind your business is to pay your debts on time. And not only to be willing to pay, to be able to pay it, okay? So creditworthiness is a key factor.
Certainly.
So I just wanted to chip in on what it was saying with regard to the entrepreneurship innovation part. It's not that it necessarily has to be new. It can be an improvement that you make to something existing. And again, that talks to your ability to be agile, to adapt. Now, what gave you the inspiration to innovate that product is important. Yes, you got it. That's just something you're thinking. You're just entrepreneurial. You're just innovative. But you need to go out and do a little research on whether the market needs or wants that product. And that is important. A market research does not have to be that whole elaborate thing. It can be pretty simple. We all have a cell phone. We have WhatsApp. We have Facebook. We have so many other platforms. So just posing simple little questions in your circle of friends and asking them to circulate. It can be a pretty useful survey if you do it properly. But at least you have a little feel from the people. And some people will not be truthful. So you have to take that with a grain of salt. But at least you get a feel as to what people are thinking. And usually, if you just do it anonymously, people will maybe most likely give you a true feedback. You want to introduce something tricked, quote unquote. Nah, we don't want that. We don't want. So if most people tell you they don't want it, you start to think again and whatnot. But you need to have something that will inform as to whether there is a demand for that new product or that innovative product that you're going to put on. And financial institutions like to see that type of information.
Thank you. That indeed was a hearty discussion. As we wrap up this evening, I have one final question. I know a lot of people are interested in finding out. As entrepreneurs, we need to look for opportunities, and we've spoken a lot about that this evening. We do agree that the best way to mind your business is to seek opportunities, yes? In your opinion, what is the best way an entrepreneur can seek to analyze the trends to look for new opportunities?
If I start where you left off, we need to conduct a bit of market survey. And the market survey can be done, you have the primary, which is what you do collect. So you also have secondary information where any documentation that's available, what financial institutions have. I must admit we're not very good at using information and even storing it and having it available. We're not the best at that. But the little that is there, we can use it. We can make use of it. So we need to have something, as I said. Conduct your little survey, WhatsApp your friends, or Facebook, that get a feel as to what it is people think of what you are thinking of doing. They don't necessarily have to know that you're going to launch a product, but you get it. There's a company in Trinidad that wanted to find out something about Dominica's financial landscape. And they contacted a friend of mine. And she said to me, "You want to make 125 US?" I said, "Okay, you could give me drinks for the weekend." So she said, no, seriously. There's a survey paying you $1 US for every response that you get. And I was like, "Sure, we can do that. Can we use WhatsApp and Facebook?" She said, "Yeah." So I said, "Okay." So they said they had 300. They wanted a target of 300 persons in America. So each of us, I said, "Look, let's see how many people we can do. I have some WhatsApp contacts, you have some, Facebook and whatnot, and then we ask our friends to distribute." And people answered. In the end, we got $275 US. Just do a simple basic survey. You just send out a WhatsApp broadcast, and people respond, and then you encourage people to answer it, and then you get information like that. It may not tell you what you want to hear, but at least you have a feel of what the market is, and that is important when we are thinking of launching new products, innovating existing products, or anything else that we want to do. I think that is important. Market survey, market research is critically important.
I concur with Mr. Joseph that you have to do your investigation. And as an economist, I also have the analogy of Ford. In the past, he would only produce black vehicles, and he would push it at the market. And then finally, he realized people don't want black cars. And so he had to do an analysis as to what the people wanted. And so I always encourage entrepreneurs, instead of pushing things at people, pull it. So you get what they need. And so you basically supplying the market with what people need. And once you supply, whether it's death or life, you mind in your business.
Mrs. Steve?
So, with respect to identifying trends and opportunities, read, listen to news. You have very innovative young entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs from Africa. If you look at CNN, listening to CNN, and it's just a favorite pastime of mine because you can learn so much. You can keep abreast of so many things. And one thing I really like, the internship aspect of things. If you want to be an event planner, get into a business that would afford you the experience, right? So it's not just reading and looking at other people, but the practical aspect of things. So you decide if that is something you really want to do. You get a sense of what the competition is like, what you can do better, where you can source different things, So don't be afraid to, expose yourself to what it is you really like to determine, whether you can make a business out of it. So this is something I really wanted to emphasize. And my good friend from NBD spoke about, the debt issue. I think that I believe in second chances. I always see the glass half full. So people make mistakes. I don't think people really want to be bad. Sorry. I don't think people really want to have an unresolved debt. I think it is important to listen to what the problem might be, to have the facts, because sometimes we tend to be a little judgmental without knowing the facts. For me, the facts are very important. Once the facts are straight, you can say what you want. I will not argue with you. I will not argue with you. If I'm wrong, I humble myself. But when the facts can support a particular position, I don't argue. Look at the facts of the matter. See how you can help the person, revamp their business, right? And if you do all of that and they willingly go down the same road, then we have a problem. But I think everybody deserves a chance to redeem themselves.
Thanks. And Sheldon, with your unique perspective,
Yeah.
how do you look for opportunities?
Well, one of the things that I've noticed, again, being an entrepreneur on this small island state that we live in, is we're already at a competitive disadvantage based on a multiplicity of different factors, right? You all know, before a movie come out in America in January, is maybe till September, we're going to see it in Dominica, With the paradigm shift of the internet age, information has been proliferated much quicker. And I feel like the age of information that is upon us is now bringing us up to speed. Now, what do we do with that information? What do we do with that data that is out there for us to actually take advantage of? I think if entrepreneurs can look at the big picture, not be very myopic in their view of Dominica as your market, or Dominica is where you want to roll this out. Because when we look at it, our population cannot sustain business growth to the level of major wealth creation unless you come in to disrupt something totally. Like the traditional businesses that have wealth creation strategies locked in, they are cemented and have been in Dominica through generations of families over the years. So those traditional business sets are out of the picture. So if you want to today go and decide you want to start a shop and one day go and be a big supermarket, and sit down, rethink that strategy. But if you open yourself to all the opportunities that are there outside in this wide world of business and commerce that we have, then you might find that particular niche that you can develop from here and gain scalability and take it elsewhere. Networking also, I definitely want to stress on anybody that is serious in developing their business and business growth, and this is my plug-in for the AIC, to align yourself with business support organizations like the AIC, where there's opportunity for you to network. I mean, in my short tenure at the AIC, I have had the opportunity to to network with a lot of the major players in Dominican economy, business economy, private business economy. And I've also had the opportunity to push the agenda for small business, small and micro and medium-sized businesses to be more part of this cadre of business professionals. So I feel like if you're a young business person and you have that entrepreneurial spirit, you have to keep on looking at the opportunities that are outside in the wider world and see how you can tap into it from the space that you are, and also try your best to network among the communities or the businesses that you operate within, and see how you can develop strategies for growth from there. So that's my 2 little points for them. I also wanted to, you asked me my very first question, and I don't know why I never say that industry, but agriculture, for me, I feel agriculture poses major opportunities.
It's food.
Not only in the production of food, but in the
organics.
in the value added,
Yeah.
in the vertical integration. Like, I see we cannot compete when it comes to economies of scale and try and create big, enormous factories and stuff like that. But Dominica has been blessed to have a cadre of niche boutique products. I can name a few, like cocoa. Our cocoa is one of the best in the world, top class. Nobody can touch that. Bay leaf. We don't even know what we have in bay leaf. We haven't even scratched the surface on that yet. You know, we just bulk crude bay leaf oil and we send it away. We haven't even think of fractionally distilling and selling all the products. Every little perfume, Givenchy and this and that have extracts of bay leaf in it. So there's a lot of areas within the agriculture and agro-processing field that I see as big opportunity, and I myself am going after it, and I would encourage others to try and do the same.
Wow, we've had a very valuable discussion tonight. I want to thank our panelists for joining us here at Finance Focus. Some of our key takeaways as entrepreneurs and business owners is that you should be innovative, you should be adaptable, you should manage your business finances, and of course, you should think global, right? So tune in next week for part 2 of the Financial Information Month series with Finance Focus in collaboration with the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, where we take you to a higher financial altitude. See you next time.